Good afternoon, everybody. With us here today is South Carolina Representative Carl Anderson, Vice Chair of the NCOIL Articles of Organization and Bylaw Revision Committee. Hello, Representative Anderson, and thank you so much for joining us for this month's NCOIL 101 interview.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to you, Mr. Patrick, and to everyone a part of NCOIL.
So I guess let's hop right in. So I wonder how you first got involved in public service.
Well, my family, back when I was in high school, my dad worked at a furniture and appliance store, and my uncle worked at a furniture and appliance store. So after many years of them doing that, they decided that they would go and they would open their own. And so that's where it came in at. They opened it up and they wanted to figure out what the name was. And believe it or not, my uncle said he went to the bank and, and he said to the banker what was going to take place. And he says, well, I'm pondering with the name. He says, why don't you call it Anderson Furniture and Appliance? So that was the name, Anderson Furniture and Appliance. And we had our furniture and appliance store for 20 years in Georgetown. And we, took care of Georgetown, portion of Charleston County, Williamsburg County, a small portion of Horry County, a portion of Berkeley County. So we actually serviced a large area, was very successful. And so that put me into the public service part. And then I received the call from the Lord to preach. And, I'm pastoring also. So that puts me in another public servant, position. So I've always served the public. And back in 2002, a group came and asked me would I run for the House of Representatives. And so I says, I don't know about that, And by this time, the furniture store had closed. Both of my, they were older, retiring now and all. And so let me back up. Before I did that, I started working with Liberty Life Insurance Company. After a furniture store closed, I got a call and the guy says, Carl, your name has been buzzing around. You would be an excellent candidate for the insurance industry. I says, what? I thought, oh, no. So, everything went well. We took the test, passed and all. And hey, my first job was with Liberty Life Insurance Company. And they gave me a book of business. And back then, we had to go to the client's house. We had to collect and all that stuff. So it was good. Enjoyed it. And then there was this group came to me, says, we want you to run for the House. Said, guy who has the seat, he's retiring. We need you to run. And so, prayed about it. And I said, well, it's another public servant job. You know what I mean? And some folks said politics, no, but it's still a public servant job. So I came back and said to them, I said, okay, I'll see what happens. Now they told me, the guy was retiring. So back then we used to have like a weekly meeting, breakfast meeting with, people. And so I went to the breakfast meeting and the guy shows up. He's probably about, I would say about 30 years older than I am. And so, I went to him, spoke to him and, says, we pray that everything goes well and you enjoy your retirement. He says, retirement? And then, somebody said, well, you said it. You said you were coming out. You said it 3 times, No, I didn't say that. So, they wanted me to make my announcement that day and I didn't. I waited a week and I had another conversation with a couple of people. And then the senator had me and the guy to meet. And he says, well, I know you can beat me, but I'm going to run, and nobody could figure out why. Well, I went on and filed. The last day of filing, he switched parties. And, that was kind of hurtful, but, it was his choice. So I had a primary, another guy jumped in. and I beat that guy by 82%. And then I had the general with the guy who has been there for 24 years, and I won by 86%. So there it is. Well, that first time I didn't run in 2002. I gave it to him because he said he needed 2 more years to retire. So I gave it to him. This was in 2004 when he said I didn't say that. So I won. So I've been there since 2004 in the South Carolina House of Representatives.
Nice. And so, like a lot of the people that you were like a pastor for, did they end up becoming your constituents once you got into office?
Well, the first church the church I pastored in Hemingway, South Carolina, when I got elected, they encouraged me to run, you know, and I was with them until 2006, which was only like 2 years. And then, I was moved into Georgetown. And so some of my members are my constituents.
Nice. And so you also mentioned that your first job was for a life insurance company. Have you worked primarily in life insurance throughout your insurance career?
Yes, yes. I was with Liberty Life Insurance Company after I got my license. After they offered me the job, and then I went and got my license, passed the test, and all. And I was with Liberty Life Insurance Company, and then RBC bought them out, so it was RBC, and then I just went out and did some independent stuff. So it's been good. It's been good.
Yeah. So pivoting maybe a little bit. So we know that different states handle health insurance related issues differently. Some have it like in part of their general insurance committee, some separate committees or subcommittees. How's that handled in South Carolina?
Well, in South Carolina, I serve on the Labor, Commerce, and Industry Committee, and within that committee, and it is the second powerful committee, in the House. Within that committee, there are several subcommittees, and I've had the opportunity as serving as subcommittee chair for the health insurance, and so we have several different subcommittees, but health insurance is one of our big committees that things come before us. I think you have met our commissioner, our insurance commissioner, Commissioner Farmer, which he serves well. He's been to several of the meetings at NCOIL. He was there in Charleston.
Oh yeah.
When I came to Charleston, South Carolina, we hosted, and so a real nice guy, real helpful. If there's anything that they see that we need to deal with, they will bring it to our attention. Sometimes, it's some rigs, the regulations that we need to bump up, improve. That's always it. But we work good together. Sometimes, there are opposing folks from, on the outside business world. But most times, my thing is to them is, now, wait a minute, you're not going to wait till the day of my meeting and come in here with all this stuff, So my thing is this bill, if you have a problem with the bill, let's sit down and hash it out. When it comes in here, we should be together. And, we've had a couple of incidents that we had to say, okay, we're going to table this bill. We need those entities to get together, hash it out, and bring it back before us.
So in between all that extensive work in the legislature, being a pastor, your insurance career, do you think your public service has had any impact with your family?
Yes, it has. It's had an impact on my family. But, my family enjoys, they enjoy me pastoring because they are part of it. And everything I do, I make sure that they are part of it. My family also enjoy, me being at the State House. My kids were out there like mad. They had their friends out there when we had election the first time. My kids were out there, to the games, handing out flyers and all that stuff. They had their friends out there with them, passing out stuff. So, they were a part of me getting elected, and they were happy. And the other part to that too is, when we got to go to legislative meetings, they've been a part of that, me bringing them along. And so they get to, enjoy different states.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like a great experience.
Yes.
So, moving on, how many years have you been involved with NCOIL, and how did you first hear about us?
Well, I first heard about NCOL uh, back when I was, a part of the subcommittee, the health insurance subcommittee, and I was invited to one of the NCOL meetings. And this has probably been maybe about 12 years ago. I was invited to a meeting, and so I went out to the meeting, and then I became interested. It was fun, listening to what goes on in other states and legislative bodies, and that we come together and we try to, hash things out that we can present it, as members of NCALL to everybody. So upon that, coming to the meeting, coming to the annual meetings, the spring meeting, summer meeting, it's always been, good. I want to commend the in-call staff. They are always cordial and helpful. Y'all know how to put a spin on us to get the job done. So it's been a great adventure. And then, I was assigned to a couple of committees, and working on those committees, and then being bumped up to the executive committee, and then now being the vice chair of bylaws. So it's been a good ride for the last 12 years or so.
All right. So, do you have any key takeaways from those past 12 years, your experience with NCOIL?
Yes, I have met some of the most dedicated people, and I've met a lot of dedicated insurance agents also, and those people that desire for us as legislators to pass bills in our states. When they come before in call, at their meetings, those people are genuine. They know what needs to be done, and they ask for our help. And that's one of the greatest things that we could be a part of when someone, asks, for your help. And when someone comes and says, listen, you're from South Carolina, you know, this is what y'all pass in South Carolina. This is what we would like to see happen in South Carolina. This is what South Carolina needs. So it's a great thing. It puts us right there with everybody. And, most of the time I come back, I bring my big binder and I take it into the labor industry and committee. And I say to them health wise, I says, I think we all need to look at this. So it's been a great day.
Great. So, based off that, do you have any favorite model laws that you've passed or worked on at NCOIL?
Yes, and even back in South Carolina, some of the model laws that I've been a part of with NCALL, we brought it back, and we had some of those things done, in South Carolina, and we're still working on some things. Needless to say, we're in the South. A lot of our areas rural area, so we kind of got to work on a little bit slower than those folks that's in the city.
There. So, what would you see as benefits for consumer industry representatives being involved and going to NCOIL?
Well, I think it's a great advantage, especially when you can meet those kind of folks and you all can sit at the table and discuss things, what needs to take place for, all of us in the United States. So I really feel that it's a great thing of coming together. And it seems like, when we go to an in-call meeting, it is business, which is real good. But then in-call knows how to throw a little bit of fun in there also. And so that keeps people coming. And I feel like those persons that come before us, they also see what's going on. So they don't mind coming before us and talking with us and asking us, to do this in our state.
So we see a lot that Congress is very polarized right now. Are you seeing that in South Carolina?
Yes, we're seeing this is all over the world, what is going on. You know, when we look at all of the shooting and killing and all that's going on, the gun laws and all, it is just so sad that so many people have to lose their life. And when I speak about this, it hurts me to my heart when I flipped the hat from the legislative part to the pastoral part, um, the Emmanuel 9 that took place in June of 2017, I served in the legislature with their pastor, who was Senator Clementi Pinckney. We spoke that day, and he told me he had to go back to the church for his, midweek meeting. He had to go back down Charleston, pastored in Charleston. And I came on home to Georgetown. And before I got to Georgetown, as entering Georgetown, really thinking that I'm gonna, relax, no, I got the call that this took place. There was a shooting at Mother Emanuel AME Church. And then I was the South Carolina Legislative Black Caucus chairman. So immediately I came in the house, put my stuff down, freshened up, regrouped, and I went down to Charleston. And it was just so sad walking. I was there at the hotel. When they found out who I was, wearing two hats, talking with the coroner and all, and they says, "We need you here. We need you to be able to talk with these families." And believe it or not, Mr. Pat, it was very hard. I mean, it was one of the hardest things that I've ever done in my life, you know. And I stayed there until 4 a.m., and I went back every day, because there were interviews, we were trying to help with and all. So we went there every day. And to see what happens. And really, I felt like, this effect was all over our whole nation. Why not do something now? And every time there is one of those killings, you think back to say, why didn't they do this? With what took place even in the world before 2017, but what we saw in 2017, we should have banned some things with the gun law, and when I see what happens, school, 19 little innocent third and fourth graders get killed, two teachers, when I look at the next one, it's boom at a gathering. When I look at the shooting at a church, and now even this time at a parade on this past 4th of July, it is just hurtful to see what is going on in our world.
Wow. Yeah. Did you around that time do any work in the legislature, working with those issues when it happened?
Yes. We tried to curtail some stuff. We tried to pass some gun laws, but I'm in the minority party, so it didn't go through well. But it's got to be something. It's got to be. I feel like the Lord is really showing us something, and we're still not getting it. So it just happens time after time again. Innocent people lose their lives for something that I feel like we can take care of as elected officials and making sure it's done, and it's just sad that these people got some powerful guns in their possession, and we can't stop anybody, but golly, if we do some things to curtail this, I believe it would help.
Great. Thank you. So naturally, we've discussed, what you like about NCOIL, why it's a great organization, but do you think there's any points of improvement you could see?
Well, I think that what we can do too is, we've got a good body. I think we need to keep that going. Me coming back to South Carolina, I've introduced it to several people, and now I've got a couple of my colleagues coming now to NCOIL. So I think if each one of us share in our legislative body what it's all about and what helps, then I feel like others would come aboard and they would be a part of it.
Great. So now we're going to move into our lightning round questions. These are the real hard-hitting ones. So do you have a favorite all-time movie?
No, I don't. I don't. I just watch some of everything.
Fair enough.
And hey, let me just say this part too. Sometime when the TV is on and the other person is watching, then to get along, you go along. I'll go along, get along.
Fair enough on that one.
So,
What about
my
a favorite?
wife is a TV person, and she watches Hallmark. Since the pandemic, I've seen all the Christmas shows, and it's been interesting since the pandemic. It took the pandemic for me to really sit down and really watch that kind of stuff with her.
Fair enough.
I
Do you
got
have a
it.
favorite do you have a favorite all-time book?
Well, most times, I'm reading my biblical material, so most time that's my book stuff, and there are several of them that are good writers, and it helps, it helps, and actually it helps me in two ways, not only to administer to people spiritually, but also to administer to those people that are going through some things, and they need help, in the community as constituents.
Interesting. Yeah. And then last one, 3 dinner party guests, can be living or dead.
Say what?
You can pick any 3 people, living or dead, to have a dinner party with. Who are you choosing?
Oh, mercy. Well, so 3 favorite people, 3 famous people. One would probably be Colin Powell, who just died. Another would probably be to have a good sit-down dinner with. It would be, his name went blank on me. But then the other thing is, I watch tennis. So, it would be good for me to be a guest, of Serena, and the tennis folks. I'd love that. I've been there several times to see her play and all. But the other thing is, there is one who is called Bishop John Hurst Adams, and he was a mentor to me. And now, he has deceased, but it's still there.
Great. Yeah. So this wraps up this month's NCOIL one-on-one interview with Representative Carl Anderson. Representative Anderson, thank you so much for taking the time, and look forward to seeing you in Jersey City.
Thank you, and I look forward to being there too.